baby, listen to the speaker. No matter what, just say the word. I'm loving all I see.
Perswayable. What's going on, everybody? So, by popular demand, a lot of people ask me to do a dancer guide. Now, what I will say is that I don't really see dancer in high tiers too much. I don't really think she's the best character to use. However, she's really fun to play. And we'll kind of get into the breakdown of her character, the pros and cons to her, why we also don't see her in high rank mode, and then also we will show you exactly how to play her. And there is a correct way to play her in my humble opinion, although there are two main persona builds, and both have their strengths and weaknesses, and we'll talk about that as well. What I do find interesting about this character is the fact that the developers call her a female dancer. It'll be very interesting to see if she gets a male counterpart. I'll totally ship that, absolutely. As long as Geisha don't get a counterpart. That's my bae. I'm waiting for her to stab me, right? You guys know what I say. It means she needs to touch me. Okay, anyways, so let's talk about her. So her first ability is Duet. And essentially it says that you can either put down one box that increases speed in multiple actions or another box that slows everything down. That's essentially what this really means. You have two boxes. You only have 3 boxes in total, so you have to choose between the two. One speeds most actions up, and one slows down actions, such as attack recovery speed, the ability to destroy pallets, even the rocket chair cooldown. If you put that on somebody and it's the red one, then it can actually increase it, so you got to be careful about that. We also know that the decrease in speed doesn't affect her. We know that when she drops from a height, she can increase 30% of movement speed for 3 seconds. It's not that big of a deal. There's some circumstances you can use that, Sacred Hospital, Lakeside, etc. And then we have Dread. And now Dread is what gets really important, because once teammates die, you get weaker. It takes you 15% longer to vault for every death that occurs on your team. So if 2 people die, you're vaulted now 30% slower. So this is where the persona builds are going to come into play, because whether you like it or not, this character really is concerned about other characters dying, which means that you may need to complement your persona build based on that. And we'll talk about both persona builds. So persona build 1 essentially says that she needs to rescue. Well, sure, you have your coordinator on your team, but she really needs to be the second line of defense, especially if the coordinator gets into a pickle. Now, one of the things that we'll get into later is that if you're a competent dancer, you should never be dying early game or even mid game. You have a lot of kiting potential with this character, especially with the boxes, which I'm going to show you how to use, which means you're not really going to be dying too much. So having Tide Turner allows you to get that rescue in, and I'm going to show you how you can actually be a formidable rescue character. A lot of people underestimate her saving abilities, and again, I'll show you how you can do that on a competitive level. But for the most part, this persona build is essentially saying, I can't afford to have my teammates die. If my teammates die, my character gets considerably weaker. And how you do that and how you can execute the ability to rescue and save your teammates is something that I'm going to show you all how to do. So it is a viable option. If you look at the southwest corner, you're going to see that I also incorporate the increase of stuns through pallets, right? So if you look at the southwest, you'll see that branch right there. And that increases pallet stuns by 10%. That's actually 100% a dancer move, because dancer is one of the best stunners in the game. And I'll show you as well how you can set that up. And that is going to really be your ability to get away and to also exemplify or exacerbate that with the blue box, which slows them down. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But this persona build essentially says I can kite and I can save and I can buy my teammate 20 seconds of time. However, hopefully your teammate will be saved without them being struck even once. And believe it or not, Dancer has that ability if you use your boxes correctly. The second build is quite unremarkable. It's really what everybody is expected on many builds. You have the ability to escape when the exit gate's open. In top tier matches, this should be occurring every round. And it also is the ability to use your knee-jerk reflex and all of that to kite better. And again, we invest in a pallet stun. Pallet stunning is very important for her. That's again, I'm going to show you guys how to set that up. You should be able to get pallet stuns pretty much every game. If the hunter is chasing after you, sorry about that. And that also includes, even if you're bad at pallet stuns, that's what makes Dancer really good, is that her build really makes pallet stuns easy. And again, we'll show you how to do that. But yeah, this is an unremarkable build. I think the downfall to this build is that you don't really have any rescue potential. You do a little bit if you can use your skills correctly, but that tide turner will make a big difference for you and your team. And it will make it viable, especially if the coordinator goes for a rescue, she fails, and then you go for a rescue. That's 2 tide turners that stack. That's an additional 40 seconds. So, like I said, between Persona 1 and Persona 2, I'd probably choose Persona 1. I think that it adds flexibility and dynamic to the team. It allows another creative aspect of escaping. Again, coordinator is usually best at this, but depending on the rocket chair, remember, not all rocket chairs are alike. Some rocket chairs are easier for you and your teammates to escape from. Veteran hunters will actually make sure that they put you on rocket chairs that are difficult for you to escape from. That's the difference between a veteran and a beginner hunter. They know which rocket chairs is more difficult for teammates to get away on. So they'll purposely skip rocket chairs sometimes to put you in a more dangerous one. And with that being said, I'll show you some of the ability with pallet stuns and rescue potential with her. Alright, before we get into some gameplay, I would like to have some basic tips before anything else. First of all, you are a kiting character, or you are a rescue character, depending on how you build your build. So both are just as equally important. I would actually make the argument that you're a kiter and a rescuer. That's why I believe Persona 1 is way better. All right. But because you have the ability to really have kiting potential, right? You're not necessarily a perfumer with the perfumes or a magician with the illusions, but if you use your boxes correctly, you should be able to kite like nothing. There should be no reason why a dancer goes down if she masters her kiting ability, which means that you pretty much want to choose the more difficult ciphers. You want to leave the easier ciphers, such as Sacred Hospital, in the hospital, or Lakeside on the boat. You usually want to use those with your mind's eyes and your mechanics who need a little bit more safety than you, right? Because you have more kiting potential than them. You have more tools in your arsenal, so to speak. So you don't necessarily want to always choose the easiest ciphers. However, in some circumstances, you're going to have to, because you spawn right next to them and you don't want to spend the entire match kind of moving around. So you need to remember that you have a great rescue potential, great kiting potential. The second recommendation is you need to save your boxes. One of the biggest mistakes that I see dancers do is they immediately put down a red box in the beginning of the match to increase their decode speed. You're wasting your box and it is not worth it. You should never use your box that early. You only have 3 boxes, especially since you may have to rescue, or if you're down to the last 2 ciphers, you may have to speed rush. You never know when you're going to need those boxes, and I can assure you, you're never going to feel like 3 is enough. So with that being said, you need to make sure you're saving them. Do not use them like candy. Advanced dancers know how to rescue and decode and kite, which means that you need all of your boxes, especially if you go in for a rescue. That's going to be 1 box by itself, let alone if you actually have to kite yourself, especially late game, right? So with that being said, don't use your boxes like they're candy. In the beginning, just decode normally. Trust me, you're going to need those boxes against advanced hunters. What I will say is that 90% of the time, you're going to be using only blue boxes. Blue boxes are your best friend. You're going to need them to save. You're going to need them to kite. I'm going to show you how you can do both of those. There are some rare instances where the red box is worth it, and I'll absolutely show you when you should use the red box. But typically, you should never really just use it on yourself. You should always use it when you're decoding with another person, especially if it's a mechanic's doll. You will decode that cipher so fast. Remember, you only have 3 boxes. Again, I can't tell you how many dancers just start throwing their boxes down early game. Don't do it unless you're kiting. So again, 90% of the time you're using blue boxes. Most matches I'm only using blue boxes, but I'll show you the instances where it's appropriate to use your red box. And let's get right to some gameplay. Alright, so the question is, how do you use your blue box, right? It's actually simple. You always want to use your blue box in between a pallet. So a few things. The longer you hold it down, the longer it will last for, and the slower that people will be when they go into it. So right here, you're going to see a hunter come on me right away. I'm going to place it down in between the pallet. It's going to slow him down, right? And when he tries to get rid of it, he has to get in between the pallet, so you can stun him every time. If he decides not to destroy it, you could still pallet stun him. And this is why you have the increase in 10%. Now, if I was a little bit faster with my box there, with my stun, I would have been able to stun him before he was able to break the box, which means the stun would have been longer, right? Because it would have been within the blue zone. Now, I probably shouldn't have dropped the second one there, but I actually do it just in case if I have to decode. It's not really good since it's within the cipher machine. But either way, I wanted to show you the basic trick on how to actually use that blue box. You should always be placing that within the pallets. It's almost a guaranteed stun every single time, and if you do it correctly and fast enough, they won't be able to break the box. And that means that their stun duration is now doubled between your 10% based on the persona build, and also because they're within the blue box zone, which means that their stun is now decreased significantly. And so really, I'm going to show you another instance of it, but really what you want to do is use these blue boxes within tight areas, and it's going to allow you to stay within those areas, and you force them to take the box down, which gives you more time. Let me show you another instance, and this is actually when I do a rescue as well, which is why she's such a great rescue character. So we're going to do the same thing now. Remember, it's not always good to have the rocket chair in the blue, so you want to do your best to put it at the edge, right, because your teammates will be significantly reduced in speed. Now, I actually hesitated right there, which I shouldn't have, but I was able to get the rescue, right? So, and I got Tide Turner. You see how that works? So it buys another 20 seconds. So I actually messed up that rescue. I shouldn't have waited there by the pallet, but I kind of froze up a little bit. And that shows you really the escape mechanics. If I would have timed that correctly, I would have given the Mind's Eye probably a 3 or 4 second jump. And I would have probably been able to do a better job at body blocking. But I want to show you the general idea of how you use that blue box to decrease the speed of the hunter and also increase the ability for other survivors to escape. So I'm going to show you another attempt here. Okay, so we're going to put the blue box down again. We usually want it at the edge of the rocket chair. You got to be careful because they may stay on the outside of the rocket chair. But the good thing about this is that if you get them to swing at you, right, their recovery speed is significantly reduced. Watch this. Look how long she's recovering, right? You're giving him a significant boost. Did you guys just see that? And that's what makes her a rescue character. And that's why sometimes you can use Tide Turner, and sometimes if you do it appropriately, you give them enough time where they don't need Tide Turner if they're experienced. So I'm actually going to slow that speed down. So again, we put this within the pallets, okay? That's going to be very difficult for her to destroy, because if she destroys it, then you set yourself up for a nice easy pallet stun. I hold it down, and I'm charging it up right now. I'm not putting it down right away. I'm charging it and charging it and charging it for as long as I can without wasting too much time. All right? And we're going to put it down. Remember, the longer you charge it, the slower the speed of the actions are. The slower her attack speed is, the slower her attack recovery is. And remember, you want to do the best that you can to make it so the chair is on the outside layer, so they have an escape route. And it's even better if you can convince the hunter to hit the chair. If the hunter hits the chair, their spawn time is ridiculously long, even longer than what it is now. So again, we're showing you a nice easy rescue. Look at how long her attack recovery speed is. So that's an instant where it's okay to take a hit. And if you have Tide Turner, the chance that it's going to take them longer to hit you or them, not that it matters because Tide Turner only lasts you 20 seconds, but I do want to show you that ability to use this and get rescues. Alright, and so another thing that I see some dancers do incorrectly is they have all these blue boxes down and then they just decide to run away from them. You don't want to do that. Look, I have hardly any pallets and I can still tight kite pretty well. Remember, her attack speed's reduced, her attack recovery's reduced, so she's going to spend a lot of time taking these boxes down. She doesn't want to deal with me in the blue zone because these veteran hunters know that it's going to be very difficult to catch a dancer in the blue area. So usually you force them to take the boxes down, and when you take the boxes down, it gives you enough time to set yourself up to either hide, like I'm doing now, and hiding in between the pallet, just in case they find you, and you can use your stun ability just through normal kiting. And that's very important. Stay in your blue zone. And like I said, you kind of force the individual to make a choice. Do they keep going after you, which will be very difficult for them, or do they destroy your boxes? So in this case, I have two teammates who died. This is more of a fun match. They're just joking around and having fun. So it's not like we're playing competitively or anything, but still, he's still trying to kill me, and I'm still using the abilities to highlight your ability to really do this tight kite in here. He's not going to catch up to you. I mean, think about how fast white is. We all know that white, look how slow he is moving with this blue box that is down. I could kite him forever. So he's going to go and destroy it, and I'm going to continue kiting. Unfortunately, I didn't put it in between the pallet, so I messed up there. If I put it in between the pallet, I could have gotten another stun there. So that's why pallet placement is relatively important. And, well, I was able to get the stun anyway. So one of the other things with Dancer is try to, like I said, preserve your blue boxes. You know, don't put them down unless you absolutely have to. I see some dancers who change up their kiting ability. So what they do is they don't kite like normal. They alter their gameplay to put their boxes down. Don't do that. Kite normal. Put your boxes down in abnormal situations like this one where you need to be creative. So the question is, when do you use the red box? So if you look here, we have 2 ciphers left. We have 1 person who is on the chair, and somebody's going for the rescue. And we also facing the photographer, so we want to make sure that my job right now would be to decode. Somebody else is going in for the rescue. So we're going to put this red machine down, red box, and watch how fast you decode when you have, I'm holding it down, I'm charging it so we decode faster. We're going to put it down. Watch how fast us two decode together. So in this instance, it's worth using. Right? I still have 2 more boxes left, which means that I can still perform a rescue. So my teammates right now have completely botched a rescue attempt. There's not much I can do with that. However, I can finish this decoding, and now because I have boxes, because I preserved them, I didn't use them in the beginning, which is what I'm trying to tell everybody who uses Dancer, do not use them. Use your boxes. Unless you're kiting early game, you should never use your boxes. And this is when you use your red box. When you're decoding, especially with a mechanical doll or mind's eye or another character, both of you are exponentially faster, which means that the box is worth using. Now that the cowboy just went down, I now have 2 boxes to go and do a rescue attempt, and I have Tide Turner, so I'll at least buy us another 20 seconds. This means that the mechanic can continue decoding, and now I can go in and do my rescue. Anyways, guys, I really hope that you appreciate this. Again, I don't think that Dancer is the craziest sort of character, especially 2 versus 8. She's garbage. You cannot buy more boxes. You're only stuck with 3, and every time somebody dies, you're capped at a 15% debuff to your Volton. I think it's capped at 4 or 3 or 4. So in 2 versus 8, don't ever use her. But in 1 versus 4, I probably give her maybe a D or a C tier rating. Again, I don't think that she's the best to use. However, I do think that with the photography introduced, she does have a little bit more creativity in terms of being able to speed up that ciphering. She has a great ability to kite, a great ability to rescue when used properly. Disadvantages would be against the clown, so that's a huge shortfall for her, especially since clown is one of the most overpowered I shouldn't say overpowered, but one of the best hunters in the game. So all in all, I think she's a super fun character, and if you're going to play her, especially on a rank level, just use her correctly, and your teammates will absolutely benefit from it. Again, I don't typically like characters that have a debuff to their decode, because remember, if the hunter doesn't go after you in the beginning, because you decode 10% slower, you're essentially telling your teammates they must live longer, and that's not always going to work, especially against top-tier hunters like Race Car and Dead and Skywalker. You're really lucky if you can get that 60 to 90 seconds. All in all, I hope you guys were able to learn something. Get those pallet stuns. Use the slow blue box as much as you can and have fun. Have a good one, guys.